Imagine your mind never powers down. Not a gentle hum, operating theater lights, cold, sterile, illuminating everything, every flaw, every thought you wish you could just not have. Most people move through life with a soft focus. They feel the sun without calculating its angle. Some of us, that dimmer switch is broken. Nothing is soft, nothing fades. When you're this attuned, you don't just live things, you audit them. You catch the micropause before "I'm fine." You feel the room shift before anyone speaks. It's not a choice to overthink, it's a nervous system that forgot how to stop processing. And here's the thing, this constant wakefulness, it's rarely a gift. It's alertness that never learns to power down. A mind that got so good at staying watchful, it unlearned how to just be. Life stops being a river, it becomes data points you have to connect. Every conversation is a puzzle. While everyone else is immersed, you're in the engine room, tracking patterns. Part of you is talking, laughing. The other part is watching yourself talk and laugh, analyzing the performance. It's exhausting, not because the thoughts are dark, because the machine never goes into standby. From the inside, this doesn't feel like a curse. It feels responsible, smart, necessary. But over time, the equation replaces the experience. You're so busy decoding what life means that you're rarely inside it. Presence gets traded for the illusion of precision. You don't just observe the world, you observe yourself observing it. For the overly aware, it's permanent. You don't just feel sad, you immediately notice the feeling, then interrogate it. Is this justified? Mine? About now or then? By the time the emotion travels through your body, your intellect has dissected it. Even joy isn't safe. You can be happy and simultaneously step outside it, watching, calculating how long it'll last, bracing for the interruption. You're half living, half watching. Eventually, your inner world becomes a surveillance state. Your own thoughts get monitored. What started as self-awareness curdles into self-interruption, and the cruel part, it feels like maturity. But the mind wasn't designed to be both dancer and critic. When thought turns inward like this, spontaneity withers. At some point, you start seeing the wiring behind the puppet show. You notice people rarely say what they mean. Kindness can be transactional. Affection comes with fine print. Most interactions aren't about connection. They're about reassurance, control, managing fear. Not because people are evil, because they're human. And with that comes a specific loss. When you see too clearly, you can't enjoy anything at face value. Compliments feel layered. Apologies feel incomplete. Promises sound fragile. That's where quiet grief takes root. Losing relational innocence, the ability to take words as words, love is uncomplicated. Once you've seen how often people contradict themselves, how fear wears confidence as a mask, you can't unsee it. Communication becomes a language you have to translate. You realize most conversations are parallel monologues dressed as agreement, and that insight is deeply isolating. Because when you're backstage, you see the pulleys, the sandbags, the flimsy scenery. Even when the performance is breathtaking, you know how easily it could come down. That knowledge doesn't make you bitter, it makes you cautious and sometimes profoundly lonely. For people with this sensitivity, empathy isn't a switch, it's an operating system that never shuts down. You don't just hear words, you download the payload underneath, the hesitation, the unspoken fear. Long before someone admits something's wrong, you already know. And emotions don't stop at the edge of your consciousness, they move into you. A friend's unspoken grief follows you home. Someone else's anxiety lingers in your body. From outside, you're calm, grounded, emotionally intelligent. You're the person others feel safe with. But there's a cost. When you're tuned to everyone's frequency, you carry feelings that were never yours. You absorb guilt, tension, disappointment before they're even expressed. And because you understand where they come from, you hold them, you manage them, you become the regulator. Over time, you're the container, the translator, and no one thinks to ask if you need understanding too. Empathy that never powers down teaches you how to disappear inside connection. That's when awareness becomes a weight. Not because you care too much, because you're carrying more than one nervous system at a time. This level of awareness doesn't come from nowhere. It has a history. For so many of us, it starts in childhood, not as a trait, but as an adaptation. In environments where emotions were unpredictable, where safety depended on reading microscopic cues, awareness wasn't optional, it was survival. As a kid, you learned to scan the room before a word was spoken, to feel the temperature so you'd know how to be or whether to disappear. Nobody taught this, your nervous system learned it for you. I used to think I was just wired wrong, that my overthinking meant something was broken. But what I was experiencing was intelligence forged in fire, sensitivity born from necessity. It wasn't fragility, it was adaptation. The tragedy is, what once kept you safe doesn't know when to stand down. As an adult, your environment might be stable, but your nervous system still acts like the rug could be pulled, so it keeps scanning, preparing for a disaster that's no longer coming. That's why awareness is so often accompanied by bone-deep exhaustion. You're not tired because life is demanding. You're tired because your system never learned it's finally finally actually allowed to rest. Understanding that changes things. It replaces harsh self-judgment with context. You weren't born this way. You became this way because paying attention once mattered. And the task now isn't to erase that awareness. It's to teach it gently that the danger's past, even if the sensitivity remains. That's where healing starts. At some point, awareness becomes a strategy for control. If I can predict, anticipate, then maybe I won't be blindsided. That's when it turns into mental preparation. Your mind runs simulations. If they pull away, you'll know why. If something ends, you'll have seen it coming. Understanding becomes armor. But there's a price. To stay perpetually prepared, you step outside your own life. You stop fully inhabiting moments because you're tracking where they might lead. Joy arrives and part of you scans for the drop. Connection forms and you're calculating probability of loss. This is how awareness feeds analysis paralysis. You've already lived every negative outcome in your head before the present moment's finished, so you hesitate, withdraw. Not because you don't care, because you care so deeply that you're trying desperately to protect yourself. The deep irony, this desperate attempt to control the future produces the very exhaustion it was trying to avoid. The mind stays coiled, life becomes a problem you're managing, not an experience you're having. Awareness used this way doesn't create safety, it creates distance. Because the more you outthink uncertainty, the less room you have to just feel anything without conditions. Slowly, armor replaces presence. The way through isn't to see less, it's to carry less. For a long time, I felt like awareness was a responsibility. If I noticed something, I had to interpret it, fix it. But not every signal is a coded message. Not every shift requires action. Not every insight needs to be followed to its bleak conclusion. A few things help me now, small truths. First, not every silence is a coded message. Sometimes people are just tired. It's not about you. Second, not every feeling demands action. Emotions can move through you like weather, felt fully, then passed, without needing to be solved. Third, not every insight needs expression. Some understandings are yours alone to hold. This isn't about detachment, it's about balance. Awareness without boundaries becomes suffering. Awareness with wise boundaries becomes clarity. When you stop treating every perception as urgent, your nervous system can relax. The body learns that noticing doesn't mean danger. The mind learns it doesn't have to stay 3 steps ahead. This shift is uncomfortable at first, like loosening a grip you've relied on your whole life, but slowly you start experiencing moments without stepping outside them. You laugh without monitoring the laugh. You feel sad without analyzing the sadness. You don't lose depth, you reclaim presence. And awareness, instead of weighing you down, becomes a quiet companion, not a taskmaster. Awareness doesn't need to disappear for you to find peace, it just needs refining. When it's softened by acceptance, it stops being a glaring spotlight and becomes gentle warmth. You stop needing to control every outcome or decode every silence. You trust that not everything requires your understanding to be meaningful. Some moments are meant to be felt, not filed away. That's the quiet alchemy. You still notice deeply, but you don't cling. You still feel intensely, but you let emotions move through. You understand people without losing yourself inside their stories. Presence replaces prediction. Curiosity replaces fear. And something shifts. Life becomes lighter. Not because it's simpler, because you're no longer trying to carry the whole weight at once. If any of this landed, if you recognized a part of your own mind, you're not alone. This channel is for people who feel deeply and think carefully about how we're wired. If you found something here, consider subscribing. And if a particular moment hit, leave a comment. Your experience might be the exact clarity someone else needs to feel understood.